Tonight's story, The Midnight Market of Liora Bay. The full moon hung over Liora Bay like a heavy silver coin, casting a path of light across the rhythmic pulse of the Atlantic. Kian, a sharp-eyed 14-year-old with a penchant for coastal legends, waited by the jagged rocks of the North Shore. He wasn't looking for driftwood or tide pools tonight. He was looking for the trail. Suddenly, a glint of metallic light caught his eye, a silver nautilus shell half buried in the wet sand, followed by another and another, forming a shimmering breadcrumb trail toward the receding waves. As the tide pulled back further than Kian had ever seen, a narrow, elevated path of pristine white sand emerged, cutting through the dark water like a secret bridge. Kian stepped onto it, his boots making no sound. The air grew thick with the scent of jasmine and salt. The further he walked, the more the silence of the bay was replaced by a low, melodic hum of voices and the distant chime of bells. He was no longer just on the coast. He was walking between the folds of the world. At the end of the path, the midnight market unfolded in a riot of soft, bioluminescent colors. Stalls made of bleached whalebone and ancient driftwood lined a hidden sandbar. Kian walked past a tall, spindly merchant whose skin looked like polished abalone. The merchant was carefully arranging jars of bottled lightning, which crackled with frantic electric blue energy. "Watch your fingers, lad," the merchant hissed with a toothy, friendly grin. "It bites if it gets bored." Deep in the heart of the market, Kian found a stall draped in heavy, ink-colored velvet. An owl-headed merchant in a tailored coat was pinning maps to a corkboard. These weren't maps of Liora Bay, or even the stars above. They were maps of nowhere, landscapes that shifted as Kian watched them, showing forests of glass and mountains that floated in the clouds. "The destination only exists if you're brave enough to go," the owl man hooted softly as Kian studied a map of a city built entirely on the back of a giant turtle. Near the edge of the market, where the sound of the returning tide began to grow, Kian found a small, unassuming stall. A hand-painted sign read, "Impossible Things." Behind the counter stood a girl about his age named Liora. Her hair was the color of seafoam, and her eyes held the calm depth of the deep ocean. Unlike the other boisterous merchants, she sat quietly, watching Kian with a knowing smile that made his heart skip a beat. "You don't look like you're looking for lightning or maps," Liora said, her voice like the sound of wind through beach grass. Kian nodded, leaning against the driftwood counter. "I'm looking for something that feels real," he admitted. Liora reached into a velvet pouch and pulled out a small glass orb. Inside, a tiny, golden spark flickered, dancing like a trapped firefly. "This is a courage seed," she whispered. "It's one of the rarest things I have. It doesn't give you strength. It reminds you that you already have it." Kian reached out to touch the glass. It was warm, vibrating with a low, steady pulse. "What does it cost?" he asked, knowing that in the midnight market, gold was useless. Liora leaned forward, her gaze locking onto his. "A promise," she said. "The midnight market only appears to those who are standing at a crossroads. To take the seed, you must promise that before the next full moon, you will try something that truly frightens you. You must step off your own shore." Kian thought of all the times he had stayed silent when he wanted to speak, or stayed on the sand when he wanted to dive into the deep water. He took a deep breath and nodded. "I promise," he said firmly. Liora placed the courage seed into his palm. The moment their skin brushed, the spark inside the orb flared brightly, turning a brilliant, sun-like gold. "Then it's yours, Kian," she said softly. "Don't let the light go out." The ground beneath them began to vibrate. The melodic hum of the market turned into the roar of the ocean. "The tide is coming," someone shouted. The bioluminescent stalls began to fade into mist, and the merchants dissolved like salt in water. Liora gave Kian one last wave as she and her stall turned into a swirl of seafoam. "Remember the promise," her voice echoed through the spray. Kian turned and ran back toward the shore as the white sand path began to sink beneath the rising waves. Kian tumbled onto the dry grass of the dunes just as the sun began to peek over the horizon, turning the sky a bruised purple and orange. Liora Bay looked perfectly normal. The secret path was gone, and the tide was high against the rocks. He looked down at his hand, half expecting to find it empty. But there, nestled in his palm, was the glass orb. The golden spark inside flickered with a steady, defiant light. Kian smiled, a new sense of excitement surging through him. The future was no longer a shore to be feared. It was an ocean waiting to be explored.